Hey guys, I had a really great idea for something I wanted to talk about today for my channel, and so this is something that is kind of close to my heart and something that I really enjoy speaking about because I think that there's a really strong correlation between these two things, and I think that when I read about shamanism and where they are coming from with their approach to mental illness, it really makes me wonder how whether we're doing the right thing here in modern medicine in regards to people that suffer mental illnesses. So the one thing that I wanted to speak out on today and cover was schizophrenia. Now, schizophrenia is something that I am close to, know of, have seen personally. My father, I believe, was schizophrenic. I think that he had schizophrenic episodes, and I think he really tried to hide it. This is really hard to talk about because it's very, very personal, and there's a lot of judgment out there about people that have mental illness, and I really don't think it's a mental illness at all. What I really believe it is a spiritual illness, and I believe that so when it comes to schizophrenia, I think it's an overactive astral body. What I think, my own opinion of what happens to people that go into psychosis and don't return is that their astral body becomes so extremely damaged that they are pretty much leaving their body. So people with schizophrenia oftentimes don't really live down in the lower extremities. They're kind of up here. They're not just here. They're not just third eye, although that is something that does get flooded in schizophrenics. That one of those fluid, the pineal gland is actually connected to some kind of ventricle. I think there's like three different ventricles that are affected by people that are affected by schizophrenia. Schizophrenia is when somebody goes psychotic and doesn't make it back out and doesn't make it back home. The reason why schizophrenia is so damaging, or the reason why psychotic breaks can be so damaging, is because it's actually what happens during a psychotic break is that your body, your astral body, cracks. And so it will actually damage your aura. If you have any type of serious trauma in your life and you have a nervous breakdown, say, usually when that happens, that's actually what happened to me. So usually when that happens, we will have, people that have this severe amount of trauma in their lives will have a cracked astral body. They will have a crack in their astral body, which means that they can potentially leave their bodies. Now, when you have two people that, I'll get into that later. That's not even a conversation for right now. But that is another topic that I would love to talk about. So, schizophrenia is when that just doesn't go away. They continue to live in the upper ethers of their subtle body, and their astral body becomes so damaged and so cracked that there is absolutely no way for them to think normally anymore. So then what happens is their pineal gland starts to become flooded with information. Where is that information coming from? Well, they're actually leaving their bodies. They're not able to ground, so we know that we have 7 energy centers in our bodies that make up our light bodies. They kind of their souls are being pulled forward and up. And so that's why when, you know, we speak about Kundalini awakenings and things like that, and how to move that energy up, that's really something that you want to be careful about, because that can damage your astral body. That can damage it. When you look at a normal person with a normal astral body, it's complete. Like no severe trauma. That is a complete astral body, and it just kind of comes around like this in a circle. It's whole. When you have somebody that has had any kind of severe trauma in their life, I have had a very traumatic event that led me to think that I was dying, or that I would never see my children again. It was so traumatic for me that that was the cause. That was the huge cause of my my crack in my aura, which it comes when I look at my aura, because I can see people's auras now, which I never was able to before. But when I look at my own specifically, if there's been like a retrograde, or I'm starting to do a lot of dreaming, or if I've been visited, or if anything weird and spiritual has happened to me, I will take a look at my aura, and what I can see in my aura field is an opening coming out of my right ear. This is also the ear that rings constantly. And so while my logical brain is trying to make sense of all of this and stuff, for years, it's taken me literally years to be able to figure out that this was a damage to my soul. And not like, yes, our brains get damaged too when we have breaks, but also those breaks for people can be very beautiful and very spiritual experiences. So just keep that in mind when you're dealing with a person that might have psychosis, or might be presently bordering on manic, going up to psychosis. You'll want to keep in mind a few things. The one thing that you'll want to keep in mind is to be gentle. People that are suffering psychosis are receiving flooding of information coming from everywhere. They might be seeing numbers. They might get really scared, because the problem with psychosis, while it can be incredibly enlightening if you're traveling into the upper dimensions, a lot of times people with schizophrenia are going into the lower dimensions. The lower dimensions are like super fear-based dimensions. And so, and psychotic people as well can really, if you cannot harness it properly, if you cannot harness going on the other side of the veil every once in a while properly, and be able to control it and move your energy up so that you can vibrate higher. Sometimes people with psychosis, or people that have schizophrenia, will oftentimes be able to access lower dimensions. This is where lower beings live. This is where the lower vibrations are of fear, hatred, jealousy, envy, possession. You know, all of the deadly sins. They're all down here. You could call it hell if you wanted to, if you believed in hell. So a person that has had a traumatic experience, or a person that is suffering from PTSD, will oftentimes go into something called transient psychosis. Now, people that have PTSD, like me, and can sometimes slip out are slipping out due to a trigger. Oftentimes that trigger can come in the form of a person. Oftentimes that trigger can come in the form of, my ears are itching like crazy. Speaking of ears, sometimes that trigger can come in the form of somebody else's disaster, or witnessing, or knowing, or having precognizance. You could even go so far as to be able to open your third eye and be able to see something that's going to happen in the future, try to prevent it, and then it happens. And that's what will trigger people to sometimes go into psychotic episodes. So when a person is going into a psychotic episode, they literally have a hole or crack in their aura. That's why you can equally call it a spiritual awakening, because it is both. It is both. There is spiritual information coming from other realms of our, wherever we are, our cosmos. There's light frequencies that are traveling in with a cracked aura. You have a lot of light frequencies that come in. Ringing of the ears is super like big for people that consider themselves to be on the ascending path, because what ascension is doing is it is taking care of acquiring a light body, or becoming this is so hard to explain. Acquiring a light body is really and truly the only way, or the only help for people that have really severe cases of transient psychosis or schizophrenia. And so because they have so much damage to their aura, they can go ahead and just start evolving spiritually before they've left their bodies. That's actually why dementia and Alzheimer's exist as well. These are people, these are entities, these are humans with souls, and their soul is literally trying to leave the body. There has been a crack or shattered. Something up here has shattered. They're ready to leave. But the body is clinging and holding on to the soul. And so there's the fight. So it really is, when it comes to psychosis, when it comes to schizophrenia and all of those things, yes, people that have psychotic breaks can absolutely look back on them and see that they've been able to predict many things. They were able to, there was a lot of, for me, when I had mine, I actually got a lot of number patterns, and a lot of numbers came through, and a lot of sacred geometry, honestly. And that I didn't know that at the time, but it happens to be that was how mine kind of surfaced. But the problem is that with a person with severe levels of psychosis, or somebody who has schizophrenia and just can't shake it, the mind will create a lot of fear in this experience, because it's confusing and people don't know what's real and what's not. And so when the mind starts to create the fear, that is when the dark hallucinations, the dark auditory hallucinations will start to play a part. when someone who has a cracked astral body gains spiritual maturity, they are able to discern between what is good and what is not so good, what is real and what you just leave behind. And so that's my 2 cents on schizophrenia and psychosis. I do have more to say on the opposite side of things, which is the person that has flat affect and doesn't, like, their soul is just not even in their body. So that is also actually something that can happen to somebody that has had a severe enough psychotic break. Their soul actually has left their body at that point. And so it takes time to heal. It takes a good 6 months to a year sometimes to heal, especially if it's like a really cracked aura. But there are reasons why it happened. It can come from intent, like, again, it can come from a near-death experience. It can come from intense trauma, or it can come from intense fear. And all of those adrenaline, endocrine system, like all that crap that starts pumping when you think you're gonna die, or you think that like your life is over, or you think you're never gonna see your kids again, that kind of thing, it will it causes a traumatic events for people that where their aura actually will crack because they are getting ready for death. So that is my 2 cents on schizophrenia. But I wanted to say this, I don't think I delivered it properly, but if you are around someone that has schizophrenia, like my father had schizophrenia, if you're around people that are hallucinating or are seeing something that you don't see, don't discredit their what they're seeing, because the truth is that thing is probably there. The only thing is that you don't see it because you don't have the abilities to see it as they do. A lot of times people their brains will manifest the dark things or the dark demons or whatever it happens to be. Their brains are manifesting that, and so you're going to treat it just like you would treat an exorcism or whatever. You will just exorcise the demon in whatever form, in whatever way you can, because it truly is very real to them and maybe many others. You just don't know. So I just wanted to kind of put that out there, that if you do see somebody that might be having a psychotic break, know that in many cultures, many ancient cultures, that is actually that is called a portal for the healing, for the healers. And so in a lot of cultures, psychosis is respected because it's a spiritual awakening, and it's actually, there's a lot to be learned, which people don't really understand this. They think your brain is just scrambled, but there is actually a lot to be learned about things when you're experiencing psychosis, because it is a spiritual experience and you are receiving things that are sometimes manifesting right in front of your eyes, or you're having dreams that are coming true in reality. That's because your body is able to travel and it has the ability to astral travel. But people with serious cases of schizophrenia, their astral body is just shattered and they're leaving their bodies. But the general rule for people that you come across is to be kind and calm, and kindness is very big with that particular that particular thing that people suffer from, because they're already they're already very afraid, very afraid. Fear, again, is a huge cause of getting stuck in psychosis and not being able to come out. Okay, thank you for listening. Bye.